everybody, Matt Brown. We're going to do Been Caught Stealing by Jane's Addiction in this one. Now this song, I'll say right off the bat, there's a lot of improvisation as far as like the rhythm figures in this song. So I'm going to kind of take a mix-match approach of what he does live and what you hear on the original recording to kind of teach this song. And hopefully that'll give you a better understanding of how to like effectively play and perform this yourself. Alright, so let's get after, we're just going to start from the beginning of the song and we're going to work all the way through. We're going to look at the main guitar parts, and then kind of side by side we'll look at the overdub stuff that happens over top. So let's look at the beginning chords first. I'll switch over to clean. So what we have here in guitar 1 are some bar chord shapes on dominant chords. So this is a B flat 7 here, and that might be maybe the most common way to fret this B flat 7 bar chord. He's adding an additional flat 7 on the second string with the pinky finger. So these shapes are in guitar 1. Now there's a second guitar, and that guitar is playing shapes down here. So the B flat 7 would be that. And then your A7 is just going to come down a half step. So these are just, you're barring with the first finger, and then you can use either the third or second finger to grab the flat 7 of the chord on the high E. So that's the rhythm there. Alright, now let's look at the main riff to this song in guitar 1. Now this riff, he plays it with a lot of variety. Like almost every time he plays it, it's played just a little bit differently on the recording. Now when I've seen him play this live, he plays the riff a little bit more consistently each time. So I'll just play it at tempo, what he's doing, and then we'll talk about it and break it down slowly. So really the rhythmic feel is what stays the same, and then there's some little variations within that framework. So the main idea is we have this, it's part of a G7 chord, but we're only going to be playing the 4th, 3rd, and 2nd strings. So, and this alternates between this little piece right here, which is the 5th fret at the 4th, 3rd, and 2nd strings. So it's like a C chord that's kind of embellishing this idea. So as far as the variations go, you might get something like this. Something like that. So slowly that would be. Versus what I've been playing is. So just these real subtle variations. If you listen to the recording closely, you know, he's not playing it, like I said, exactly the same every time. I don't know. I'm kind of more inclined as a guitarist. That's just the way my brain works. Would be to play it the same every time, just so I have less to think about. So now let's talk about what's going on underneath that. Now it's a real cool thing with this song. It's a cool production trick. Like instead of overdubbing like an acoustic or like an electric with a clean tone, it's an electric that's not plugged in, and I'm guessing they just like, you know, put some sort of miking scheme real close in to pick this up. So all it is he's just doing like a G5 power chord, like this. And the rhythm is this. So it's like just a 16th note thing with some syncopation in it. To line up with where the syncopation's happening with the main guitar part and the bass line. So we've got one E and then the downbeat is tied over for the rest of the measure. Like that. Alright, so now we are kind of into the verse sections, and the main guitar part stays the same, and as we move into the song more, this part gives way to a part that's like so what he's doing is basically playing the same thing that the main dirty guitar is doing, but he's using these voicings down here. So this would be like your G7 here, and then instead of like doing an actual C chord, he's playing just the open strings. And then to come up for the last little chord, instead of a G5, it's a G chord. And so, like the main riff to the song played on the Dirty channel, there's variation with this too. He doesn't do it exactly the same each time. So just kind of be mindful of that. All right, so now we are into kind of like a transitional part that leads closely to the chorus. So what happens is we have a little, it's when the vocal said, and we did it like, so there's that little stop there. So the main guitar is doing G5 to A5. So that's the G5 shape like that, and then the A5 is this. So we've got G, C sharp, and E. And you could say this is a diminished chord, whatever. And then we've got the... Now the second guitar part, what it does is, during the... it does this. So that's, you're keeping the fourth and third strings ringing, and then you have notes on the second string, like that. So it's... So to kind of recap, we've got... And then the rest of the measure on that track is just muted strings. And then it goes into the rhythm of the... But we're playing that chord down here like this. So open fourth string, third string, second string. Alright, so now we are into what I'll label the chorus. And that part goes like this. We'll look at the main track first. It goes... Alright, so that's it. So let's walk through this. So we have a C chord here. And we're not going to be playing the first string out of this bar chord shape, so just strings 5 through 2. So that's 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we're going to move some chords around. We've got B flat, like that. And then we're coming down to an F. Now with the F, we're only playing 4 strings again, so the 4 lowest strings. Okay, and now we're going to do our kind of funky rhythm that we have, but with the G chord. Again, 4 strings. Like that. So, and then what we have is we're coming to a C sus4. Down to a C. So, and then what we have is C5, or sorry, C sus4 again, to C7. So there's your sus4 again, and now what we're going to do to make that 7 chord is just move the pinky finger down to the 1st string instead. So let's go through that much again. 2, 3, 4. Okay, now then we just have our B flats, 7 to A7 thing again. And then the main riff. So now what we have here is like a little lead break. In the rhythm guitar and the overdubbed acoustic unamped electric guitar thing does what we've already talked about. So let's look at that little lead thing here now. Just like this. So, we're kind of just outlining what the rhythm guitar is doing. So we've got this G5, or sorry, G7 shape that we had down here, but we're just playing it up an octave higher. And then we're sort of arpeggiating through the chord changes. So that's the first little chunk. And then the F is going to come back down. And then the 3rd finger is going to pick up, and we're going to have a, this is a C note here. And then we're going to play this G7 chord, which is, let's see here, 19, 18, and 19 here on your high strings. So slowly we have... And then the second time, he's coming down to a B before the, as the last note before the chord strums happen, which is something you can do or not do. Nobody's going to notice the difference. So that's how it's played on the recording there. The first time I ran through it, I didn't play that B as the last note. I just did it the same both times. Now a word on tone here. Probably what I would do live is kind of approach this section as though it were a solo, and increase the gain and put on some delay for this little solo-y part. And then when it gets back to the verse part, I turn the delay and additional overdrive off. So then what we have is just repeated material. We've got same stuff we've talked about. The only thing left is the solo section of the song, so we'll look at that next. Alright, so underneath the solo, the main dirty guitar is doing the main riff still. And the acoustic electric, we'll just call it that, the acoustic electric is doing its thing. Now there's a part in the solo where basically all of this is G7 material, and so it goes up to the 4 chord in the solo, and the rhythm underneath that changes. There's 2 guitar parts that are doing kind of roughly the same thing. This is kind of a Dave Navarro recording trick where he'll overdub 2 rhythm guitar parts that are playing just slightly different stuff, just to kind of like create like this big kind of almost like controlled messiness, I would say. So I'm just going to play kind of like the idea of what those guitars are doing. So here it is. So that's the first little chunk of this section. So it's pretty funky. We have... So that's the first measure. 3, 4. Alright, now the next measure is this. 3, 4. So, basically he's just playing out of C Dorian for that first measure. And then the next measure is it's pentatonic. And then we have these octave shapes. So we've got B flat and B that happen there. And then at the end of that bar, we've got, one of those slide up and out type deals. And then basically that repeats again. So now if you want to learn like the actual solo licks and all of that, I did a separate lesson on the solo. So if you want to check that out, yeah, by all means, just check out that other lesson and you'll learn all about the solo. So that'll do it. I'm Matt Brown. Enjoy playing this song, and we'll see you for more lessons.